All right, guys. Welcome to Optimizing Forward, guys. I'm going to make a live stream. So I finally have fixed the issue I should have fixed like 5 months ago. um, so I guess we'll make a video here. Haven't really been around for a while. Think it's been like 6 months since I made a video. So I had some videos come out earlier. Um, I want to say I made like 4 live streams. For some reason, 0 of the live streams went up. Then I was having issues with the camera. The camera was not working, like numerous issues. And honestly, I was just super lazy and I just didn't really care to do anything. So right now it is September 5th, 2025, almost 2030. So I guess for this live stream, what we're going to talk about today is where have I been within the limits of what I can talk about. And then we'll talk about, I guess, the YouTube channel. You guys know I've been on YouTube for, I think, technically since 2018. So that's almost 10 years on YouTube. So I guess the first thing, right, is that like, one, guys, to be honest with you, I really don't want to make videos anymore. Like, I don't know if I want to keep making YouTube videos anymore. Like, for one, the first thing to remember, guys, is YouTube takes up a lot of time. One, you have to pay for editors, you have to pay for thumbnail editing. The third thing is that it's not very profitable. Like, in other words, I don't make a good enough amount of money for me to, I don't want to say waste my time, but waste my time giving wisdom or sharing things. That's what I used to say about like 1 to 2 years ago. Is takes up a lot of time. So I think that I want to say that YouTube is kind of like a high profit or possible high profit return on investment, depending upon your niche and your profitability. So, and the other thing is how much revenue is coming in, how much money am I making? That's the bottom line. So making no money doesn't make sense to invest in it. Simple as that. And I think we're kind of seeing that more and more now with this new economy that's coming about. A lot of people are having a hard time in the economy. A lot of people are not making money, right? And it's a problem. And so I guess that kind of explains my mentality towards YouTube these days. I'm a big consumer of YouTube. I watch lots of YouTube because I'm bored. Being a producer of YouTube, it's cool. Low return on investment. I'll give you a simple analogy, right? Like, let's say I have a friend, right? I'm giving him advice every day. And at some point, it's like, well, giving you advice for like 6 months. What am I getting, right? So it's kind of like that. It gets kind of old after a while, but I still do enjoy making videos. So maybe I will keep making videos. I guess now the next thing I want to talk about, right, is like, first off, what have I really been doing, right? I think that's always a great question I ask myself. What have I been doing? What do I want to do? So number one, guys, I've been training like a dog for the Army Chess Championship. I've been training immensely hard, been training insanely hard. I put a lot of hours in towards that. I have a grandmaster and an international master coaching me. It's pretty hard stuff. And I guess maybe that's what I'll talk about for the rest of this video. We'll talk about mastery. We're going to talk about, I guess, maybe some thoughts, and then we'll talk about, I guess, I'll restart the channel again for the time being. Maybe I'm hoping this becomes a profitable endeavor. If it doesn't, it doesn't. If it does, great. Could always use more money. And yeah, I think that's what we'll talk about. So, I guess the first thing we all have to recognize, right, is that there's always a profitable return on any endeavor, right? And then there's going to be the reciprocal return on the endeavor, right? The profitable return versus the reciprocal return. So in this context, there are some endeavors that don't reciprocate effort. For example, chess makes no money. Okay. I will never make money out of chess, guys, ever. So in other words, I'm sinking in probably a couple thousand hours of my life that I'll never get back for a stupid board game, right? And then you'll be like, well, Drew, why are you doing that? Well, I have my reasons, but there are some things that don't need a reciprocal return on investment to justify the effort, you know? And this is something I think I guess I'll relate back to self-improvement because I still love self-improvement. I still love like telling people about like getting better. I still love like the concepts of discipline. What's up, bro? I still love like all this different stuff. So I can still see myself making self-improvement content, I guess, because I still enjoy doing it. But I think as I'm approaching near 30, I'm getting increasingly away from like giving people advice or even trying to help people. Like I genuinely don't particularly care. Like, and this is something you guys are going to have to accept as you guys get older is that people are not going to go out of their way to help you. Let me repeat that. People are not going to go out of their way to help you. You have to leave it up to yourself to help yourself. Okay. In most of my 20s, guys, I didn't have anybody really helping me. Okay. It was mostly me doing me. Okay. Didn't have anybody to cry on. I just did it. Okay. So you have to get used to that mentality. So, I think, like in terms of self improvement, I think everyone needs to get away from like what I call transactional relationships, transactional things where you're constantly vetting something to get something, right? Now, do some things have to be transactional in nature? Absolutely, right? If, for example, my bank statements or your bank statements are not looking very good and you're not making good return on your investment, then that's not good, right? If I'm having if I'm not making good profit, then I have to stop doing it because it just doesn't make sense. But also at the same time, if you're too transactional, then you're going to tend to find that you're going to be a very lonely person, And I think a lot of people, you have to be very careful because if you're measuring too much stuff all the time, you're never going to get there. Okay, I'll give you an example like chess, right? So chess is like it's miserable, right? It's not fun. It's like studying chess is super boring. It's really hard. I'm old in chess terms. I'm pretty old. I still enjoy it, right? It's also kind of toxic too, because like you can spend so many hours just dedicated towards a fucking board game trying to win and you don't get any reward from winning. Nobody cares, right? But that's the thing I like about it, right? I like the fact that nobody cares. I like the fact that I'm not getting paid for it because it's only my passion that's driving me. It's only my passion for what it is that I'm doing that's pushing me forward. And that's what I'm trying to learn right now. I don't want to depend on an incentive based system to do the things I need to do. I'll give you another example. Let's say coding, right? Coding has been this thing I think that's super confusing, right? I like coding still. I still enjoy C++. I want to do Python. I remember when ChatGPT got released, I was like, not like depressed or anything, but I was like, well, damn, does that mean all this is for nothing? Did I learn how to do for loops, bubble sorts, selection sorts, class constructors, all this different stuff, and I won't make any money out of it, right? So it's like it gets very confusing because a lot of people live in like what I call extremes, right? You live in an extreme all the time. You think that something has to be an extreme in order for it to make sense, but the reality of it, it's an immature way of thinking. Okay, and I think a lot of people nowadays, maybe that's one of the reasons why I might continue making this channel. Like I don't have to make it. I don't need to make it. Matter of fact, I could just totally stop making videos and this channel could die and I really wouldn't care because that's where I'm at. I don't care that much. Okay. I do care though. I do care in sharing a perspective of that a lot of you guys are not going to hear. Okay. And I think that's something that's valuable. Right. And you can't be so like, the word is like, don't be so like extreme, right? Life is not about extremes. I used to think it was about extremes, but it's not, right? Because you get an inaccurate view of reality, right? And if we go back to what optimizing forward is about, right? We're about like trying to optimize. We're trying to live their best life, right? What exactly does that mean? Is it only in the context of just making money and living the best life? Sure it is, right? But in the same way you're pursuing this, you will never self-actualize, right? Because you're always chasing extremes. Some things that you do, like in programming, like what do I do with programming now? Well, I'm just going to learn it for the fun of it, right? I don't have to make money in programming it for it to be a valuable endeavor. I'm just learning it because I think it's interesting, right? Like not everything in life has to be because you have to make money, but things also have to be about making money. Notice how I said that. Things in life don't have to be about the end result, but it also has to be about the end result. It's both at the same time. Both things can be mutually exclusively true for you to get that benefit, right? So if I make money out of coding, great. If I don't, then I don't care. It's fine, right? And notice the difference there. I'm pursuing that endeavor because I value it for the endeavor and not for what I'm getting out of it. Okay. And that right there is going to be the biggest difference because you're going to go way farther as a master than you will if you're just doing it for the money. Okay. You guys have no chance of getting to my level of chess unless you're truly passionate about chess. If you're not passionate about it, you will never get to my level. You have no chance because it's too boring. Okay. And I guess like in self-improvement terms, what I'm proposing is that we don't think in the extremes. We think in terms of the moderate. We think in the moderate perspective. We think in the world of sensibility, of pragmatism, being sensible when things make sense, and then we monetize when things make sense to monetize, right? If I have 1.4K subscribers and I get 100K, at what point would it make sense for me to monetize? Should I sell coaching at 100,000 subscribers? Sure. If you want it, if you don't want it, then you don't want it, right? But at 1.4K subscribers, it doesn't make a lot of sense, right? How many of you guys are going to want that coaching, or you're going to want whatever you're going to want? And the answer is not that many because there's not the audience is not big enough. Okay, so now what I've kind of talked about so far is we talked about different types of perspectives when we live our life, right? And then now I would encourage you to moderate, be moderate. Being moderate is very difficult. It's very challenging, right? And then, I seem to see that a lot of people these days are not very trustworthy, or they don't want to have trust. This is equally problematic if you want to live your best life. Because if you're constantly distrusting every single person that you meet, then you cannot expect for you to have a thriving relationship, friendships, if you have no basis of your trust, right? But at the same time, that does not mean that we blindly trust everybody. Notice the difference there in that thought process. You can be paranoid, or you can have a degree of trust in people but also have faith that they will do the right thing. But yet, I'm still open to punishing those that lie. Okay. You don't have to pick one or the other, right? So we need to stop. I keep seeing this over and over again, and I'm just so sick and tired of seeing people like this. Stop thinking like this. It's ridiculous. Okay. Life is not black and white. Okay. Life is not one or the other. Things tend to often be somewhere in the middle most of the time. Okay. So now the next thing about, I guess, self-improvement, so I did chess, right? I did that for a while. I'm still doing it and I will continue to do it because it's something that I want to do, right? But it's not a money-making endeavor. I'm well aware I'm losing money every month playing chess. There's no money in it. Nobody cares about it. And that's how I like it, right? I think there was this thing that David Goggins would often say when he'd run his races. He'd say, I'm running these races. I'm running them. Nobody cares. Nobody's out here. And that's the point. Nobody's there. No one's out there. That's exactly the point, right? Because I don't require an external incentive an external mechanism to strive. I do it because I want to do it. Okay. And once you get to that point, guys, then life is very automatic. Like with the gym, I still enjoy going to the gym. I still lift. Do I lift as much as I used to lift? Maybe not, but it doesn't matter. What does matter is that I enjoy the act of getting stronger. There's some minimal degree of enjoyment in getting slightly better than I was before in some form or another. Okay. Now, and I will say, right, like I think this is another thing that is missing in a lot of self-improvement. And I think it's a humongous issue, right? I've been on both sides of the spectrum, being really scattered, doing tons of different things. And this is pretty much what everyone's having a hard time with. You're being super scattered, you're doing 10 things at once, right? Or you're a master of one. It's the same conversation day after day. Master of one, master of none. What's the answer, right? Is it that you just be a master of none and then you suck at everything, right? And I think the answer is, for the most part, you can have both, right? You can be a master of none and be a master of one. It's not impossible. As a matter of fact, in statistical terms, I have already accomplished this already. My chess rating is probably at like it is probably at like 2000, which is like in the 99 percentile of all players, right? So in general terms, I am a master of one and a master of none. It is accomplishable. I can speak Spanish. I can salsa dance. I can do a wide range of stuff. Am I good at all those things? No, I'm not. Do I need to be good at all those things? I don't. It's not necessary. It's like the quality of my life will not get much better by trying to become a master of everything. It's not necessary. Okay. So for self-improvement, right? Like if we're to architect what makes sense, right? Number one is an increasing level of capability. Okay. In other words, you should be able to be more and more capable every single day. In other words, your capabilities should be improving. If they are not improving, you must figure out why. Like, in other words, why am I not getting better? Why am I staying the same? Okay. Now, it's a very difficult thing to do, and sometimes we can't solve these things. Like, say for example, you're trying to bulk, right? And you're having a hard time eating enough calories. Okay, then that's a problem. So you have to find a way to eat enough calories or to take in enough protein. Some people have a hard time with stomach issues like I do. Like I'll have like pain from certain types of proteins, so I won't take those proteins because it hurts my stomach, right? And then that's a limiting factor. But that doesn't mean it's impossible to achieve, right? Capability is inseparable from improvement. Let me repeat that. Capability, your capableness in what you can do is inseparable from the performance of what you do. Okay. And this is another thing you guys need to do. You need something that tests your capability to show that you suck. Okay. That doesn't baby you and make you look like a wussy. Find something that's testing your capability, whether you're good or not, whether you're passionate about it. It should be something you're moderately passionate about, but by which you can improve so you can figure out how to get better, right? For example, I do jujitsu, right? So in jujitsu is very objective, right? I think it is, right? You do jujitsu, you put on the belt, it says you're a white belt, then there's a blue belt, then there's a purple belt, brown belt, black belt. You roll and you will get your ass kicked by a higher level belt. Okay. And then the question is, why does that happen? Is it because he's that much better than you? Well, one, he's practiced more than you have. He's getting active feedback and he's done it for longer. So you will get your ass kicked. Okay. Rightfully so. And then that feedback from your losses improves you to become better. And this is an iterative process that will continue to occur. Okay. And I would say fundamentally, I think that's the main thing for self improvement. That's really what self improvement really is, right? And I've also been kind of thinking about this in a new way. I was kind of thinking about this a couple days because I'm always interested in like numerical values, right? And one of the problems I was thinking about with self improvement in general is like there's not really a way to figure out if I'm getting any better. Like, do I suck? Do I belong here? Like, there are tests for things, there's IQ tests and all this shit, but like, how do I know I'm getting better? We have like a monetary amount. If you get a certain amount of money, then I'm at a better point of capability than others because I know I can spend more because the people are willing to pay more. They will pay more for a higher level of capability. People pay for that because it's absurdly hard. If you were a grandmaster at chess, you get paid $100 an hour because it took 8 to 10,000 hours to get that level of skill. Okay. Now, if we could rate, if there was like a life rating system as an example, then you could, I guess, maybe formalize where you're at in life, right? Like, where are you at? Like, and that's the other thing about self improvement, it's capability, it's improvement, it's feedback, self awareness, and self analysis. Fundamentally, those are the main things that make you better, that iterates upon itself. And then there is the execution of that improvement that should have occurred. Okay. And also, I want to denote that even though you have a mental transformation, that doesn't denote the executory transformation. The executory transformation is the system by which you demonstrate the value of the transformation from actionable things in reality that have occurred that demonstrate the transformation. If that has not occurred, then it did not occur. Or it did occur, but you're having a hard time executing on that information. Okay. So, I think that will be mostly all for this video, right? So we talked about perspectives. We talked about the moderate perspective, avoiding extremes. We've talked about capabilities, increasing levels of capabilities, understanding that you can have mutually exclusive ideas that are not only mutually exclusive, but mutually inclusive. So mutually exclusive becomes mutually inclusive. And if it's mutually inclusive, then it's also simultaneous at the same time, right? And then ideally, find something that can vet your. All right, give me one second, guys. All right, guys, or my bad, guys. Okay, looks like it's working. So to wrap up, guys, for this live stream, we're gonna wrap up. So yeah, so the main things I talked about today is avoiding extremes, focus on the moderates, be trusting, right? Focus on capabilities, focus on testing your capabilities to the highest levels, test it to those highest levels, and find systems and mechanisms to test your capabilities so that way you can strive to become as good as you possibly can become fucking good. Okay. The problem with a lot of work nowadays, guys, is this like it's based off a production system, but that production system is based off production quotas and production things. But if you're not necessarily passionate about it or performing well, then it's going to be very hard to strive to become the most elite of the elite. Okay. At least in my personal opinion. Okay. And find something that is vetting your capabilities constantly. And you're going to find that you're naturally going to strive to be at the highest fucking level all the time. If you're already at the highest level in one field, you tend to do it in the other fields. Okay. And that is a fundamental component of self improvement. That is why AI, artificial intelligence, is so super powerful. It can iterate on itself. It can perform at higher and higher and higher levels. It can learn faster than you and I ever could. It can absorb information and immediately execute and become even better than ever before. So in this sense, we have to be like artificial intelligence. We need to become better, become striving. We need to test capabilities. But as a human, this is obviously more difficult because we're imperfect, but it's not the point. The point is very simple. What can we do to live the optimized life? And where that comes from is capabilities. I really do believe that. I think in simplest terms, capability, your capableness, how good you are at the things you do will decide the quality of your life. If you're really, really good at stuff, guys, for the most part, your life will almost always be better than a person who's only average at the things that they do. If you're only average, you're going to get average results and you're going to get average everything. If you're in a field that you're aligned in, that you love to do, that you enjoy doing, then you're going to be extraordinary. You're going to be prolific in the field. Okay. That's what it has to be about. To be extraordinary is not an easy task by any stretch of the imagination. Okay. So just some things to think about going forward. Hopefully I'll make more content. I don't know. We'll see how I feel. Was an interesting live stream for you guys. And yeah, so pretty much that's all I've been doing, guys. I've done jujitsu, I've done chess, and those have been the main things that I've been focusing on for like the last 4 or 5 months. Chess about 2 years at this point. And I've just focused on just that. And I've gotten pretty good results from it. Maybe not like the most elite results, but I've gotten good results just doing that and focusing on that, and it made great progress. Great progress comes from great focus. Crap progress comes from crap focus. Focus. When you focus, you can make an absurd progress on anything you want as long as you know what it is you want and how to get there. That's all I have for you guys for optimizing forward. Please like, comment, subscribe, and ask me any questions, and I'll be helpful. That's all I have for you guys. Thank you.